So.
She's not.
All right. I a little bit, yeah. I know. That's really fun. We'll bring the, what we know, charge session meeting to order here. Starting 5:30. First item is to review board policies, A1.
Alright, so I got three policies, tonight, and we got some on our regular agenda as well. And so the three to start with is, public comment at board meetings, policy BFC, which is referring to suspected child abuse. And policy JFC, the personal electronic devices and social media. And I'll go along with the governor's protective order on cell phones as well. So it's, you guys have been together now for a few years, and this should be great. We're gonna go through is highlight some of the key factors in the policies, and if there's questions or comments, you can take those. We should go move on pretty quickly to that, and then get down to the board goals and objectives. So first one is public comment at board meetings. The procedural piece for this, when we get down in the bottom half of the front page, is the board establishes the following procedures for public comment at board meetings held in open session. Information will be accessible and available to all patrons accessing or attending such a board meeting.
Question.
Yeah.
When it says information, does that mean like the whole board packet or just the agenda or?
So what we started doing last year is, and Emily, correct me if I was wrong on this, but the board agenda would go out on Thursday and packets generally would not go out public, is that correct?
No, they both went out.
Okay. So, starting last year,
Yes,
but prior to last year, was that the case as well?
no,
Yeah.
yeah, prior to last year, or back never.
And so it makes it, well, you can see the agenda, you can't really see the front and back behind it, it's all public record. And so now on Thursdays is where we attempt to get out both the agenda and the packet. And we started that last year.
Close to publicly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we started that last year. So highlights number two, first person wishing to provide public comment. If an opportunity is provided by the board during the meeting, open to the public will sign in on the public comment sheet provided, submit their name electronically prior to the board meeting. And the request to give public comment in person or electronically does not guarantee time being available. That's important for just the public record, so it helps you really know as far as who's speaking, as far as making sure that our notes are related and accurate. Three, a person speaking during the public comment portion of the meeting make a comment only on agenda items. That's new, I guess what's not new, it's policy, if it's something that I've noticed that we haven't been sticking to, so. At least we have the agenda item for our policy.
So if there's something they want to comment on that's not on the agenda, are they encouraged to contact you first about that item essentially?
They essentially would be, yeah, unless we change that. Four, person speaking during the public comment. You should state their name. They are a resident of the district and are speaking for an organization, the name of the organization, and the spokesperson should be designated to represent that group for the common purpose. Five, a person giving public comment is limited to an established time limit of 3 minutes. We haven't had to do that to amend the comments. And then the board chair's discretion to waive that limit or extend the overall time. If that's done, additional time can be allocated for chair's fair for all speakers. Number six, inquiries from the public during the designated portion of the agenda or responding to immediately by the board chair. We would defer to the superintendent for reply later. The board will not respond to issues that are expected to be addressed during the non-designated portion of the agenda. And the board will not hear public comment on board work sessions. And then the last part of that is the AR. These are available to the public signs in the way this really works best is for public to be able to sign in, give us their intent to speak. This can be collected and prior to the public comment portion, Kimberly can provide that to the board chair. And they can call people when, as you go through the list, so they can go to their turn to speak.
I have one question on this.
Yeah.
It says in the third paragraph, they should state his or her name and address. Or we want people to say their address at public meeting, like. Names. Or could we just say like city, or I don't know, you know what I mean?
So I guess tonight we're reviewing policy, but if that would be something the board would like to consider, we can bring this back for review by the board and.
I don't wanna make, I don't wanna like make it official, you have to say your address just to say public comment at the board meetings. You know, I don't know, how do you guys, what do you guys think?
I guess like, what's the value
Right,
there?
I mean, I get like, you want them to be local and not somebody from Portland comes down here and is like, I wanna talk to your board meeting and stuff, but if we verify they live around here somehow, you know.
Or if they're filling out this form and they put it on the form.
Sure, but don't have to like say it
Right,
publicly.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what's on those, we still have the documentation, but they don't have to say it out loud.
Right. That's the one change somehow I would propose, I don't know if there was, makes sense to you from.
So I can do is we've got, obviously this first part of the year is our public service review period. Bring back changes to look at another meeting and looking at the change to the address and the naming of the address.
Or just, we just wanna go through it right now. And
Whatever, you know, whatever.
come back.
It takes a couple readings, so we'll have to get an action item in a regular board meeting. So that we can actually provide the new board policy with its changes, there to get the public allowed the opportunity to speak on that. That'll be first reading and then, bring it back for second reading, so it needs to be in the regular meeting. Okay. This one's,
Sorry, Jim, some of this stuff on me, did this just. With this update, it may be worth looking into also updating the statement that gets read for public comment. Yeah, that's something for the executive team.
updating it with the idea of making it more comprehensive.
Well, just to say at the beginning and consistently, some of the stuff that I wasn't necessarily following, very public comment at prior meetings the last couple of years, just in terms of time limit. Having a group of common purpose identify a spokesperson. I mean, we may be talking about making that statement too lengthy, but just to at least look at updating that statement, to include some of the stuff, and also. Yeah, I can't remember if there was something else that was going to add in there, but.
I want to read more, but you know, or you don't you?
So let me put together this.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead to the board goals, but this is something I did right now as a board goal. And I started a draft of guidelines for public comment. That could, like, when they check in with Kimberly, she could give out, so I brought this for you guys to give myself those problems.
Way better than the suggestion. That's why I'm important.
All right, next one's reporting the suspected use of child. So, under RS, board members are mandatory reporters of child abuse. I think for Stephen, you are. Double duty, because we get this, and you're ready for Dr. Clark.
Yep.
So knowing that, and the big thing is it's 24/7 and 365 days. It doesn't matter if you're at a board meeting, a sporting event, at the store, or board for Your mandatory for child abuse. The reporting is to law enforcement or DHS, and it's generally like you don't have a number of DHS and so law enforcement, you get the law enforcement of where you're in. So if you're shopping over in Springfield, if you're Springfield police, if you're county area sheriff, if you're moving. The big piece is really what counts as child abuse in Oregon. So real quick, the child abuse includes the following: physical abuse, can be non-accidental due to a child, injuries inconsistent with the explanation given. Mental injury, so observable, which is a substantial impairment of a child's mental and psychological functioning caused by cruelty. Sexual abuse and exploitation, so rape, sodomy, incest, and harmful sexual penetration, and exploitation, for example, child prostitution and pornography. Child neglect, so failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, supervision, medical care, or emotional support. And then child is threatened with harm, so posing a child with substantial risk of harm or health to health or welfare. Buying and selling a child, so human trafficking, or custody, transfer, or money services, exposure to drugs, so alcohol. Allowing a child in the present environment that better is manufactured and unlawful exposure to controlled substances like child abuse. First, our staff went in out, when we report, it has some law enforcement. Figured out at that point in time. The third one is, one that's, that's what we come up. So it's our personal electronic devices and social media. Policy J is FCEB. And you can see right there at the top, says students may possess a personal electronic device. And again, this is our current policy. First paragraph, students may be allowed to use and possess personal electronic devices on district property, sponsored activities, provided such devices are not used in a manner that may disrupt the environment for district sponsored activities or violate more policies of administrative regulations, school or classroom rules, state and federal law. Then it goes into talk about what is considered the electronic device, talk about our curriculum, use of technology. There's more some just some guidelines around it. So the big change to this particular policy, since under 1B, the governor's executive order. The first part of this, you have to look in the drawer, and page 2 of what executive order. I get into number 2, the definition. So in the governor's order, definition of personal electronic device is any portable electrically powered device that is capable of making and receiving calls and text messages and accessing the internet independently from the school's network infrastructure. This does not include a laptop, computer, or other device required to support academic activities. But the question that came up immediately when this came out from the governor was smartwatches. And yes, smartwatches would be included with personal electronic device. The requirements for the district. So every Oregon school district is required to have a policy that shall prohibit the use of personal electronic devices by students from the start of the regular instructional hours until the end of the regular instructional hours. Policy must be adopted no later than October 31st. Additionally, policy must be effective no later than January 1st. So we can have a policy in place by October 3rd, 31st. But as far as actually implementing it, we have until January 1st to start the implementation. The policy must provide clarity on how personal electronic devices will be stored during the school day. It must exclude time when students are not on school grounds and are not under the supervision of school personnel other than having a school bus driver. The policy must provide for the use of personal electronic device by a student when the use complies with the terms of one of the student's medical providers order for the care and treatment of the medical conditions. We have some students that may be under doctor's care for diabetes, and they will use their phone to measure their blood levels throughout the day. 2, the student's individualized education program or an educational plan developed for the student in accordance with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And 3, a written exemption provided for the student based on a process and guidelines adopted by the school district to allow the school building administrators to accommodate the individual circumstances of the student or to further specific education or to further specific educational outcomes for a student. So 3 things there: 1, medical provider, 2, IUP or the 504, And 3, every extra exemption by the school administrator. Letter E, under that policy requirement, the policy must provide direction to school personnel regarding actions that may be taken when a student violates requirements regarding the use of personal electronic devices under the policy, and then allowed actions may not authorize or otherwise result in severe instructional time. So no suspension or expulsions for violating policy. And page 3 is just the posting requirements, so we've got to have the policy posted on the school district website. These can be made available to district personnel, which is much like we do now with our policies, students, parents and guardians, partners who are in the school building during the school day, and then Department of Education is people in the copy as well. All right, so timeline or plan for starting to develop a policy for you guys to really review. Starting this month and into September, plan is to collect input from students, family, staff, and community partners through a short survey, conversation with building and district administrators. Going into September and October is where we begin to review the feedback, present draft policy to the school board for consideration. Need to have 2 readings at least to occur before the adoption. That needs to take place before October 31st. And the January 1st, the new policy would go into effect. So we've already got some sample policy, I guess, questions or survey questions ready to go out to parents. Talking to building administrators and talking at the time at the beginning of the year, talking to staff. About storage. This is really going to be about Millstone High School, so there's a big piece about that. And then planning just some open opportunities for to get around the schools and talk with folks to see what their preferences are as far as the storage of them. And then also an FAQ. So FAQ would be what does the order require? So an explanation of that place. The 31st and January 1st deadlines. Will students still be able to bring phones to school? And the answer is yes, but used to with other times and locations outlined in your policy. How can I share my opinion? Talk about the parent survey and that question, and then direct people to look at your Department of Education, published statewide guidance to look at that. Department website for that. Says timeline for cell phone policy. I would imagine having a policy for first reading September 22nd, and then the second one to follow in our first meeting. October at the earliest, if we decide to have a meeting, I should be the second. They'll implement by January 1st.
Do you have ideas that you kind of already think we might do, or are you just waiting for all the feedback to get before you make these decisions?
Yeah, the executive order is very clear. During instructional hours, phones are
Right. That way.
Hey, watch us.
and what it's
Interesting.
it will be. I think part of this is, we have a lot of different policies. That if you read them really just black and white, I think our student guidelines, for instance. They usually give some leeway for us to be able to make smart decisions, in the flows. The governor has already made it clear you're not going to suspend or expel kids for this. And so you have students that just say, yeah, I'm not abide by it. Our administrators work with their families and come up with some other options that really try to get students to abide by it. I work through those options. The biggest questions that we really have to answer is how do we want to handle the storage of devices? So we've already got teachers that when they come into the classroom, one in particular, where she's got Tupperware boxes, and they go inside the box and the lid goes on it, class is over, they put their phone back. So we have some examples already in the district that are working. There are some pouches, they call it younger pouches, that's got a lock on it, so get to school, put it in the younger pouch, and then at times where they could actually take their phone out, they can go to little key areas throughout the school and them off. But we'll get that feedback from the staff, with the staff, and then we'll be. As it's not before, as far as how much they want to be a part of this or undertake it, originally I wasn't interested in spending a lot of time doing something like this, but if staff would like to move towards, getting other college or students are interested, parents are interested, and start to explore what those things are like. We'll get some information out to folks and get some information back and start to look at some other policies that people report with public, say Kaiser, all those folks actually start implementing these policies last school year.
Has anybody pointed out that it says Steve calls and text messages and access the internet, so if you have a dumb phone, it's technically okay.
That's why I feel like the watch is, yeah, they phone call, there you go.
So somebody's gonna find out.
So we'll go through it. I think the biggest thing for really administrators or staff is this isn't something that should overtake all of our discussions. We'll get back to school, just like we always do. Folks will come out, teachers will teach, students will learn, over recess, we'll have sporting events. Continue forward. Changes difficult for everyone. But take it time. I'll get too excited. Order. All right, letter C is just reviewing superintendent and board operating agreements. These have been agreements, if we stick to them, this will be to move forward. So purpose of board of directors is the educational policy making body for the school district to effectively meet systems challenges. School boards superintendent must function together as a leadership team. To ensure unity among the team members, collective agreements must be in place and involving agreements for the board superintendent. We have a picture of the ones that we've had in place for some time through. So collaborative governance. So in the past, we've decided to place the district's mission and goals above personal interests, respect the board's responsibility to establish policy and the superintendent's responsibility to manage the district, maintain appropriate confidentiality with district information. Members of the board and superintendent shall work together as a team, modeling lifelong learning and collaboration. Board members shall recognize and respect the superintendent's responsibility and the school district and to direct and forward his opinion district and school matters. The board members shall give careful consideration, listening to all perspectives, to all issues brought to the board by individuals and district leadership. Board shall make decisions only at properly called meetings. Board members recognize that the individual members have the authority to take action on behalf of the board. And communication agreements, board members shall follow the chain of command, engage directly with superintendent when a question arises or concern or findings raised by a staff member, student, parent, or community member. Board members shall communicate directly with the superintendent or board chair prior to meetings of the board to address questions that have concerns about the agenda items. Board members and superintendent shall communicate one-on-one when an individual concern arises with any member of the board, superintendent team as appropriate. And in order to avoid surprises, board members will communicate directly with the superintendent whenever possible. And there's some subsections under there, so when a question or complaint is voiced by staff member, student, parent, community member, or by an individual board member. When the board member has a concern about the superintendent, prior to meetings of the board to address questions and concerns about agenda items and possibilities 1 business day prior to the meeting. An individual board member requests district information and documents outside the meeting. Number 5, the superintendent will communicate directly with the board in a regular established scheduled communication process for information sharing. When an individual board member requests information, it shall be disseminated to all board members of the board. In anticipation of adverse events or adverse media coverage, serious incident involving staff, students, parents, or community member occurs, and the superintendent has concern about an individual board member, when requested to do so by the majority of the board. Individual board members make statements as individuals. If a statement is made on behalf of the board, the designation of a spokesperson shall follow policy BCD. If an individual response to constituents is made, the board member has a responsibility to make clear if they're speaking on as an individual or not. on behalf of the board. Really kind of question tonight is, about any changes to the structure, and then one thing that we've never added is the short-term care performance expectations are a priority for the upcoming school year, and to outline what those are. So we've got board expectations for superintendent and superintendent expectations of the board. We have any thoughts?
Well, are these, that aren't already listed?
It's very comprehensive.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking, is it things that you didn't think about when you just read that we want to add, or, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Or general change to the governance.
Yeah, structure, we ain't give each other some kind of more money or something like that.
Something like that.
You get one shot at that for around that. That's something to do, I think it looks good on our, you have to. For another year.
This next one starts to tie into what's coming up. We wanted to say the last 3 years, but technically it's been the last 2 years, it's my first year or so. But what you've got here with the Pleasant Hill School District strategic objectives is the document that's been slowly been kind of putting in place over the last 2 years. We started with integrated guidance, we developed our equity plan. We started working for the learner profile. We've got the longitudinal targets that are part of the integrated guidance plan as well. And so this is really a collection of all of that working into one document. So my goal for this is for us, and there's no changes to this, and the board agrees, I'll bring this, it's in the action item for today's meeting as well, is that we would approve this document. It's basically a 3-year document, so we have 3 years of priorities and plans out from this. There's work behind this that the shape team, like that we student. Professional development that we started last year with the team, and that is what we call scorecards. So taking goals and putting them into actionable items, coming up with progress measures with those, and what our reporting functions would be, or especially back to the board, but some of those reporting functions that we actually bring information back to the board in a report format. Right now, we do a nice job reporting on daily activities and what's going on in the school district. Obviously, reports around the financial piece of the school district. Risk reporting would be considered some of the deeper conversations that we've had over the last couple of years as far as what's going on within the school district beyond grades, beyond attendance. Fix in doing that. It gets back to this piece. In developing this, my read superintendent's message on, but I think when you look at the front page and we look at each of some of the sections beyond that, is trying to capture, I think, an honor of what I've experienced, becoming part of the school community here in Pleasant Hill. And that's real, just about honoring where Pleasant Hill has been and honoring the history of Pleasant Hill and the voice of Pleasant Hill. At the same time is understanding that there is direction forward. That direction forward is new, and sometimes it's different. So it's that combination of having to honor where we've been and who we are, at the same time make steps forward for improvement. So those have been the pieces that we put together. So those are little catchphrases like we're small town roots for big futures, where we've been, elevating where we're going. You look at section 3 to what do we aspire. This is really about the questions of what we envision for the future. So students are empowered with knowledge, character, and competency, lives of purpose and impact. Instruction is rigorous and inclusive, rooted in tradition, built for innovation and change. Educators and families partner closely to create safe, welcoming environments where students thrive, where students prepare, not for tests for graduation, but for citizenship. contribution to lifelong learning. And again, a lot of this is really going around those other profiles as well. In section 4, sort of like that, pillars to pillar of purpose and practice, and so how do we put this beliefs into practice? It's got our commitment for the next 2 years. And in section 5, this goes along with some of the student work and the scorecard work. It's supposed to define our pillars. And so pillar 1 is the academic equity and viable curriculum. So statement around that pillar is we're committed to ensuring all students demonstrate growth and achievement through a common curriculum aligned with student outcomes, developing critical thinkers and communicate effectively and demonstrate strong character, engaging collaboration, collaborative learning experiences. So this pillar goes on foundational academic commitments with a renewed focus on literacy, instructional equity, and literacy vital curriculum. It emphasizes segregated data use, tiered supports, and rigorous instructional practices, and through strategic innovation to have both districts that do mission to ensure all students succeed. And then the annual goal that we'd adopt would be Pleasant Hills School District will implement a comprehensive extended literacy learning system to ensure all students demonstrate great level proficiency in foundational reading skills with accelerated progress for all student groups. Pillar 2 is around student well-being and emotional support. We create a caring and inclusive culture where every student feels safe, supported, and ready to grow socially, emotionally, and academically. Students are supported by trusted adults with good information about resources shared through our website, school materials, fast connections. We help students feel connected through fun and meaningful opportunities like school clubs, sports, and hands-on learning. By teaching social and emotional skills, students build confidence, learn to manage emotions, develop strong, positive relationships. So this pillar centers on building a caring, inclusive, emotionally supportive learning environment where all students feel connected, safe, proud, and honors the district fostering close relationships while expanding supports through SEL instruction and unlock resources in the extracurricular region. Your goal, Pleasant Hills School District will increase awareness of the critical role of a positive school climate and culture of play in supporting student well-being and fostering a safe, inclusive, engaging learning environment that promotes academic and personal growth for all students. Pillar 3 is around data-driven decision-making. We are committed to using data to improve teaching and learning, support every student, strengthen our student outcomes. Our teams work together to review student learning regularly, using both formative and summative data to set goals, monitor progress, participate in cycles of improvement, and make timely adjustments to ensure data is used in meaningful ways to celebrate success and taking steps to validate our collective efforts. We believe that when students and teachers use data together, it builds ownership, sparks inquiry, and leads to lasting improvement. And this pillar focuses on data use and multi-tier systems support structures to improve student outcomes, close opportunity gaps, and strengthen teaching practices. It honors a long-standing effort to improve academic achievement while embracing systems and scorecards that guide progress and celebrate growth. Data teams, dashboards, and educator training all reinforce a culture of inquiry for continuous improvement. The annual goal would be Pleasant Hill School District will utilize data to form decisions, making through school-based data teams, and implement a K-12 multi-tier system of support to promote equitable outcomes, close opportunity and achievement gaps for all students. And the final pillar is for future ready. We're committed to preparing students to be future ready by building the skills they need to succeed in school and life. Through engaging learning experiences, students explore academic and career pathways, develop digital literacy, and grow as creative problem solvers. Students learn to think critically, communicate effectively, act with integrity, take responsibility for their learning and actions, preparing them for college, careers, and engaged citizenship in the changing world. This pillar highlights future-ready instruction, integration of universal design for learning strategies, and intentional alignment with their profile attributes. It reflects the district's commitment to preparing students for real-world success with integrity, responsibility, communication, and critical thinking. Emphasis is placed on engaging academic career pathways, digital literacy, and reflecting practices. We've got 2 goals for Pillar 4. Pleasant Hill School District will build the skills students need to succeed in school and life through developing engaging learning experiences, career pathways, and digital literacy. And the school district will increase opportunities for students to think critically, communicate effectively, take responsibility, and act with integrity in all subjects. Middle piece is. This next page, I guess, from 6, it's draw your attention to. If we were successful in accomplishing our goals, what else would be true? Again, these are just, I think, mutually motivational pieces. With more students dreaming beyond what they thought possible, where our schools become not just centers of learning, but places of belonging, hope, and opportunity. But every student, no matter their background or path, walk the rest of graduation state, not only prepared for their power, with the impact of our work ripple beyond our classrooms and into the heart of life. Number 7 is an outline of the appendices. So Lake Grove School District literacy vision for teaching and learning is included. Our district equity lens is included. The learner profile that we developed is included. And then the longitudinal growth targets, which are the measures that the state is looking at for all school districts in Oregon. It's also included. This will be a plan that get shared with all staff at our back to school breakfast. And also shared with all staff. I'm going to send out to the community as well. Everybody copy. Feedback, questions, thoughts. Biggest question, maybe I have it put it this way. Sitting and trying to align the work as you put this together, and really kind of feel like we're building a foundation to the last couple of years. From your perspective, just bring together the work that we've talked about.
Just took the words out of my mouth when I read it. What was it, a month ago when you sent out or something? The thought that came to my mind was it actually like, oh, that's right, I remember doing all that stuff. And this ties together for me, like, I see why all those things are part of what we said we wanted to do, and why we wanted to do it, how we want to do it. In a way that I can hand to somebody and say, here's what we're up to and why. Well, I liked it very much. Super well done and no complaints at all. I don't know about the pithy little phrases, but I'm there with it. Yeah, about
I agree with Rusty, and how many feedback is like, I see the board's fingerprints all over it, so. I got any concerns with work that we've done already, so.
Yeah, I also thought it looked great. I'm sure it took a long time together, so thank you for putting something together finally. That consolidates everything in one place. It's great. Sure.
Frustrating. Maybe it's a plan, but gotta start something.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. I don't know if you're ever there. There. You're always. Look at that, 6:10.
Right on time.
That's not. The board of self-evaluation reviews the discussion, we're back to this meeting.
My computer's not working, but you put it together for us. Do you wanna take the part of it, and he's gonna summarize it?
Yep. Let's see how to summarize it. I mean, everybody got the comments. I don't think I need to go into that unless anybody wants to follow up on those. looks like for the most part, the overall consensus, and I should preface this by saying that this is the combination, the average of 4 evaluations, not 5. But that said, overall, the only areas that we didn't rate ourselves good in was, leadership, mission, vision, goals. Community relations, cultural responsiveness and educational equity. And everything else was good. And those were acceptable. There were some lower scores, like obviously this is the average among 4. I don't know if I still have the document that I started to tabulate that, to get an idea of where folks felt that we needed to do some extra work. But since, we're here, I'm sure you guys can speak up, more specifically. If you feel like we to focus in on it, I mean, this leads us right into the discussion of goals for this year. If we need to work on any of these, then that'll fit right nicely into a goal for us to have this year.
It's extremely disappointing that you didn't have 5. I'll leave it at
You guys have any other feedback after going through it? Like, pick them up. Or anything about the translated to a goal for this year from that specifically? Or did you see it? What's that? Or did you have anything from that that you thought would be a goal for this year?
Do you mind if I pass it down?
Go ahead, over.
I went through and everywhere that it was, somebody said anything about. I wish we had, or we could, or we should, I wrote it into some sort of goal statement. You'll be able to tell which ones I've been ruminating on, because they're much more thought out. I think the last one is, well, Johnson, so. So. Try to just kind of categorize it a little bit and start something that we can spin off of and steps. The board on one side and superintendent on the other. The ones regarding the literacy stuff, I did email Jim a month ago and told him kind of what I had in mind, and he sent me on a path, and so a lot of that language is off of the email that he sent back to me.
Well, a couple of these that you thought were some of the that you'd like to see for goals for this year.
I think, that top one, the high quality video and audio. I see there's a new device on the table.
Yeah.
Just probably aimed at that for, so we'll see how that goes, but, I mean. Even when we join remotely, it's rough to try and participate and. I heard from the community, sometimes it's even hard to hear in this room. Because we try to talk to each other and it's not projecting that way, and then. Yeah, the YouTube recordings are. They get mumbled in there, so I just wanna make sure that people can access the information that they're. they are owed and. So I think that's a high priority
We're legally obligated to,
or legally obligated to provide.
yeah, I don't know if posting it online, if people can hear it, that meets our legal obligation. Or never mind, just. Problem courtesy.
Yeah, and I came across that there's like a separate closed captioning file you can include on like a YouTube video. I don't know if that's an answer, I really don't know very much about it. And then the other one would be in the literacy programming, you know, we made a lot of changes and I think we need to follow through and make sure that they are that they're successful and that if something isn't going as planned, that we give the support needed to change or pivot or whatever, those would be my thought too.
Does anybody have any more comments on self-evaluation, or should we just go right with the goals of, on those next year?
I think it's actually captured here somewhere, the list that Jen just handed out, but just to continue to encourage each of you to interact one-on-one with each other between meetings. So there's nothing to say we can't do that.
Or as we develop, goals for next year. I like your first one, and that's one that's pretty easy for us to control as well.
Yeah.
Speaking louder and enunciate our words and make sure, yeah, hold others accountable to that. If you guys read through these, are there any on here or that you had already come to the meeting with that you more passionate about adding for this coming year?
The equity lens, one was mine, I believe. Just having that available at board meetings, and considering the work that went into developing that, and I think it's equity is pretty prominent throughout the goals that have been established for the district, so I think it's important to just have those available and keep in mind. Every board meeting we're having these discussions. And I also have written in here the suggestion of just at least reviewing the board mission statement. I don't know if there's any interest in that, but it was established when I started. I don't know how long that particular version's been the mission statement for the board. But if this board wants to, is there any consideration to this board?
I have the same exact thing and noticed and remembered when you were reading. I don't know if what we envision as a future and our mission are the same things. But what we envision in this thing feels more meaningful than what we read at the beginning of the room. And not that this isn't true, I think it is true. This feels like it's better on it, so I don't know that that's a goal.
Right.
That feels like a change we should consider. Stephen, how would you frame the equity lens in goal language?
To just ensure that it's, if nothing else, like we have these documents, that are for us at every meeting, like the agenda, if it's just one of the documents that's included in there.
Just as a reminder, given that as we talk about stuff, but that's how we view things, or should try and view things through.
And if nothing else, having it as a goal that that's the case, that it triggers us to maybe look at it when we're engaged in discussion about any kind of decisions that we have impact on. I think I mentioned it when we were having all the discussions about literacy and funding and stuff last year, and especially during budget discussions, that would have been, would hope that we review that, making those decisions. But just being more consistent about it, not just when we're doing the budget, or when we got a room full of people, but when we're doing all of our decision making.
Some boards will use like a, they'll set it up as like a placemat, so laminated copy that just, every meeting they come out.
Yeah, this is consistent as our nameplates. Sure. And I also don't know if it's a goal, but would really like to see all of as many of us as possible attend the yeah, the convention, that's the word the convention in November.
I would say that like October, the beginning of November, whenever it is.
It's usually November, yeah. They've mentioned it in previous years, but I don't really hope that I plan on attending this year. I didn't go last year, so I want to talk, but really nice knowing it this year.
November 16th.
November,
Yeah. No. Maybe I don't, well, those guys have asked.
oh, there you go, yeah, it's 2 days right there.
Okay.
Do you have any other goals you guys were wanting to propose that we?
I don't know how to frame this in goal language, so somebody could help me, but we talked a lot at the end of the year about discussions that we didn't have and wish we had in the meeting. That gave us an opportunity to express opinions that none of us were quite sure that we were supposed to or felt comfortable doing. I don't know if that's it. I don't know how to put that in goal language.
More open or willing to. Like, yeah.
I guess know when it's appropriate. It's appropriate to have a discussion or it's appropriate to nod your head and say yes. And I mean, honestly, after 4 years, it's still not crystal clear to me. When to do those things.
That could be a board training goal, or you get to, or somebody come down and provide some training, because there are some protocols to be able to. Allow boards will do might start with a 30-second round robin, everyone takes an opportunity, you're gonna go 2 times through, so you get a second time to do. That's an example, it's a protocol. Give it a board training board.
Yeah, I want to. That might be super helpful. I guess I don't want to have a list of things that I can and cannot do. I want to understand better when philosophically do we have a conversation and when don't we? I mean, that might be exactly what we need to get that through, but
I don't think it's, I have the same issue. It's probably not inappropriate to just ask, are we having a discussion about this right now?
Sure, yeah. Humble.
Yeah,
yeah, and maybe, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So somebody else put that in goal language, please. I wasn't sure how to do it.
Board development goal.
Yeah, maybe that's good enough, yeah.
But I wanna make sure too that we don't lose track of the goals, like the goals we did last year, including board participation and other school activities, keeping, that we keep doing the calendar, the sign up calendar for the various meetings and activities for board members to volunteer to attend. Yeah. Yeah, I like the calendar of opportunities for, that's good, we can do that next year.
I don't want it to take one of our goal slots, but I want to keep going.
Yeah, sure. Right, I don't think we necessarily need a goal, but just to make sure that,
That document won't change, just change to the next year, so it's the same one thing for everything.
yeah, okay. It's less about the administration, more of the administrative part of it, and just more of that as board, we continue to sign up for those on a consistent basis.
Would you like to keep it the same? I've seen, sometimes it will change as well, to board might identify, we've got 4 different groups that we want to make sure that we visit each year. And in this case, it might be 5, so each person takes their group, they're gonna identify 5. Or do you want to do like every actually based in Maxwell, one month you might do the booster club and somebody else might do it the next month.
I like the way it was, because it's easier to schedule to. You know, a lot of people we meet on the second Tuesday, and if you can never make it on the second Tuesday.
I also think it's just, I think it's good to, I mean, my preference would be to not necessarily just be with one group, but to be able to attend different ones. Sure. Kind of like cross training. I guess they will say from the administrative point of it, can really just, I mean, there was only a one-time thing, but just to make sure that the meetings that are on the calendar are actually gonna take place.
Yeah. To do that.
I really appreciate your work on that, Kimberly. Others, I'm hearing from you said there's two, right?
Well, the develop a public forum guidance document. Do you guys want to look at a draft of this?
Well, that's the whole thing you were referencing earlier, right?
Yeah,
Oh, let's see it.
I already changed I had 4 minutes and I changed it to match the policy at 3, and then put something in there about on agenda items specifically.
Yeah, you don't feel it. Well, that's-
Try and help Drew out so he doesn't have to do too much.
Follow. Guidelines, with one done. Like listing out examples of personnel matters.
The one thing that stuck out, Brad Jones, Jerry Bill, in here is they're only allowed to speak on matters on the agenda.
Here, put that in there.
And I never knew that.
That's saying. But I think Jimmy said that that's new, or was that on there the whole time?
We've never touched, since I've been here, we've never touched
So that's
policy.
not there.
So for example, with, well, it doesn't matter, if it's not on the agenda, you're not supposed to comment, well, you don't know, you write it, you don't know why that is.
But is that something you want to leave on there or something you want to?
Well, I'm just thinking if somebody out there has something to say,
Right.
and it doesn't happen to be on the agenda, I feel like we should limit it. And I get why probably, because don't want a million things at a meeting, but on the other hand, it's, well,
Even like the,
Why we're
units
here.
that, for Offenbachers,
so that's what I was gonna
which,
say,
like,
that
that's
wasn't on the agenda.
very helpful.
Yeah.
I don't wanna discourage that.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of being, good as discouraging. Any feedback?
It was last. Readopted, revised in 2021. But I can't tell you, let's go back and see if you can find that original one, see if it was, it's been carried over from the very beginning or if that was a change. Or time. Historically, public comment generally has to do with the action items. For board, so like the public will see the agenda, know that the board is gonna take action on a particular item of policy. They come in, they will talk about that action item, what feelings about it, the philosophy about it, give information about it, how it affect that person. And that would help the board actually with decision development policy or that we're gonna take that action item.
I just don't think that fits something else.
Sure, that makes sense.
Well, the example that you gave, Kurt, was a good one, because that was not on anybody's agenda or radar, wasn't it? You were the decision we were making. But potentially have an impact on the school. Seems like that was an appropriate thing to do, which would not have been under these guidelines. I would be in favor of changing it.
Probably that bullet point is just that one sentence, so just get rid of that one, but leave everything else the same.
Yeah, I'd be curious, Jim. If you, if it would be beneficial to give them the administration time to review that. Offer any kind of feedback about, like from an administrative perspective or OSBA perspective or,
Yeah, I mean, I can do that right now. It's,
okay,
experience tells me, so. Policy development is very seldom about fixing a problem, it's about making a problem better. And so somewhere within the policy, whether this was just a can policy from OSBA that the district adopted, it never really changed, although I'm seeing that it has gone through a couple of revisions. It got in there at some point in time for a particular reason. And it was meant to fix a problem. What the problem was at that point, whether the problem still exists anymore. I don't know as well, but
yeah, what's funny is, I mean, that must have been revised when I was on the board. 21, I was a board member, but I don't know that it's been that particular. Restrictions been followed, right, I'm not on board,
Didn't realize it, so yeah, sure.
even though I. We've supposedly reviewed it,
so an example of maybe not taking it out, but softening it is, versus, so there is, let's see if we can find, I believe there's a piece in here referencing, um, Number six, inquiries from the public during the designated portion of the agenda will not generally be responded to immediately by the board chair. So that leaves room. I say not yet. So we can do something. If it didn't want to just wholesale take it out, you could look at something similar. So I don't know what to say, but the board, a person speaking during public comment portion of the meeting may comment only on agenda items. The board chair may make exceptions. It does put a lot of weight on the board chair to decide what exceptions are made.
Or we could simply say we encourage people to speak on agenda items. Which doesn't limit somebody from not doing it.
Well, and I think too, if we're following through more on. What I did do is only call on people that have filled out that form. I just opened it up to the floor, but we're only calling out people that fill out the form. I mean, and we're putting the onus on the board chair to make a decision whether or not to allow comment beyond agenda items. Like it'll be on that form.
Well, I can tell you, we're not Eugene City Council, but you don't get to talk. Unless you fill out a form. It's in the mayor's hand, period.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, listen, that makes sense to me, fill out the form to get caught if you don't know. I like that rule.
But I think it's also important just on a consistent basis to project to the community that even though it's the chair making that decision, he's making it on our behalf. It's not a true thing, it's a board thing.
Yeah, I think, however, see that if we just change it to, are encouraged to speak on agenda items. We just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think putting reading the form and putting that decision on a person opens us up to an equity issue. Or the appearance of an equity issue if somebody was denied.
Sure, yeah.
And I just want to make sure I understand your point. You don't want to restrict people talking to filling out the form.
No, I'm good with the form. I'm saying having Drew make a decision about who gets to speak and who doesn't. Based on what they put on the form.
Oh,
Like if it's not. We're not saying only agenda items and. She was like, I don't wanna hear about soccer. Nope.
I'll imagine you say, yeah, right.
Ridiculous. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Picking and choosing what you wanna hear from.
And it's less about who, it's more about,
What?
yeah. Maybe despite what we're saying, and we've come right on the edge of it in the past, somebody does start talking about personnel issues. And instead of having it at that point where Drew has to step in, it's somebody's put something on their form that sounds a lot like a personnel matter, or he just doesn't. I mean, you could. I mean, this is just talking out loud. You could say like, there's been a comment that was submitted, but it feels like it's maybe not something that should be discussed in an open board meeting. Let's discuss this after the board meeting. Sure. Just some thoughts, but I think this is one of those areas where what Rusty was referring to earlier, where we talk things out more, and I think this is one of those times where we want to make sure we say everything and have more of a first direction to go.
Sounds like we were reading the papers or making a decision and we're not every meeting. After they're encouraged to speak on
Yeah, that's fine.
agenda items and
You want that?
speak on personnel matters.
Yeah.
did you have a question on that, Jim, on what we're,
Well, I mean, I got you.
okay,
Yeah.
so you can make that edit and then same with the other one, revisit them.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
sounds good. But I like this, Jennifer. So it's, I think we just have that
Great, thank you for doing that.
up there with the sign sheet or whatever. Yeah. That'd be good.
I thought the follow-up part, I think if you've never been here before and you find courage to stand up and say something and then we all just stare back. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
You're staring back at you is the norm. That's what you're gonna get. We talked to a brick wall. I'll get back to you, but if you just put that out there is the norm, it's a lot less awkward.
Mhm.
Good one.
Back to the goals thing, do we have the goal statement from last year that we can? Was it in the, even my computer's not working, so I don't know if it was in the board packet, I don't remember seeing it. Okay.
did not include it.
Well, do we want to maybe send this to John as well? And then we can
Right,
kind of
if you.
read.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, right, but just kind of go through these things one last time, next meeting, come with our, like, this is the top one that I want to include and when we all kind of. Cause I'd like to only do 2 or 3 again, like, keep it pretty small. For next year. That's not good news. Alrighty,
To review, because we've also got work session on September 8th, so
okay.
I thought it was to be able to bring these back to September 8th. It'll give you guys some additional time to think about what it would actually look like or sound like, but we've discussed, board training, around, discussion, so it might be some OSBA type of training. And I got one in how to voice, for discourse or discussion. The improvement of recordings, for audio from, the audio for meetings at YouTube. Calendar, board events, what's initially a goal that we continue doing that, literacy support. Equity lens, that was a figure really easy one as well, as far as making the placemat. Which you got in front of you, and the review update mission statements. Incorporate, the objectives document, so it could be another piece of the training for us, we really kind of work with this. Piece of this on our daily mission statement. Sounds good. That I captured.
I do have I think it was a list that we ended up narrowing down, but I have a list of goals from last year that I saved. Assessment data, endowment development, increased visibility and presence at school community events, increase presence with various clubs and groups. And conduct culture and climate survey. So the ones from last year.
Number that too.
Oh, yeah, please, perfect.
What we decided on next month.
We can include that in your, work session package.
Last item on here, OSBA from convention. Portland, November 6th through the 8th this year. Stephen wants us all to go.
I will be in Disneyland with my whole family. Something will make
I guess that's a good enough excuse.
You can go there instead.
Yeah, right. Or remote in. I think my calendar is actually free this time around, so I think that might go pretty good. You said you think you can make it? Your yes do,
As of this moment.
it's a brand, well, now you put it in your
I
calendar.
know, exactly.
now.
Right now.
And then I guess we'll relay that to John if he's able to make it this evening for the actual board meeting part. Any other questions about that?
Maybe even if it's only us three, that's still the most that's gone
The long
at the same time, but it's the entire time I'm on the board.
Okay.
Alright, so.
Also, is it open yet for registration?
Well, charge session is adjourned. Reconvene in 13 minutes for the actual board meeting, or
We haven't